Want to set up a proxy server to secure and manage your internet connection on your VPS? In this video, I'll guide you through installing and configuring Squid Proxy on a VPS running Ubuntu/Debian, step by step, quickly and easily. First, connect to your VPS via SSH using the terminal or any connection tool you're comfortable with. Next, update your system to make sure all packages are up to date, ensuring a smooth Squid installation. Now, run the command to install Squid Proxy. This process will only take a few minutes. After the installation, check your Squid version to make sure the setup was successful. At this moment, version 5.9 has been installed on my server. Now start the Squid service and enable it to run on system startup, so that Squid will automatically start whenever your VPS reboots. Now let's start configuring the Squid proxy. First, check what your server's hostname is. Remember your hostname, as we'll use it in the Squid configuration file. Now, navigate to the Squid configuration directory. Here, you'll find the squid.conf file, which is the main configuration file for Squid Proxy. Make a copy of this file as a backup, in case you need to restore the original configuration later. Make sure you have a backup of the default configuration file. Now, open the Squid configuration file for editing. Press ESC, then enter the command to delete all contents of the file. Next, insert this configuration into the file to apply the new settings. Enter your server's hostname, which we identified in the previous step. This line creates a rule called MyNet that applies to all IP addresses. Simply put, any machine can connect to the proxy. Additionally, if you want, you can specify a particular IP address that's allowed to connect to the Squid proxy. In this example, I'll set it to all, which means anyone who has the server information can connect to the proxy. Next, this line defines access permission, which means all machines in the MyNet group are allowed to connect to the proxy. Next, this line defines the connection port for Squid Proxy, which is 3128 by default. You can change it to a different port if you want. Next, this line sets the amount of RAM Squid will use for temporary data storage. It's recommended to set it to about 1/3 of your physical RAM, or adjust it based on your actual usage needs, which sets the folder and disk space Squid will use for long-term cache storage. Here, you can specify the storage type, folder path, maximum size, and the number of subdirectories for data management. Alright. Now let's save and exit the configuration file to apply the changes. Next, restart the Squid service, so the changes in the configuration take effect. You should also check the status of the Squid service to ensure it's running smoothly. If the status shows running, it means your Squid proxy is running smoothly and ready to accept connections. By default, Squid Proxy listens on port 3128. We need to open this port in the firewall to allow incoming connections. If the UFW status is inactive, you can skip this step because the firewall is not currently enabled. In this case, since my UFW is enabled, we need to allow Squid's listening port so that external connections can access it. Okay, everything is done. Now let's check your server's IP address to identify the connection details for Squid Proxy. Remember your server's public IP address, as we will use it on the client machine. Now, switch to any client machine so we can test the connection to the Squid Proxy. Here, select Manual Proxy Configuration. Then, enter the IP address of the Squid Proxy server. And don't forget to enter the port number you declared in the Squid configuration file. Finally, click the Also Use this proxy for HTTPS option to apply the proxy for HTTPS connections as well. Now, try accessing the internet and visit whitelisted to check the IP address you're using. If the returned result shows your Squid Proxy server's IP address, it means you have successfully configured and are using the proxy correctly. Here, instead of remembering the IP address, you can use a domain name to connect to the Squid Proxy, making it easier to remember and manage. You can use a paid domain or a free domain service like NoIP Freenom to connect to your Squid Proxy. In this example, I'm using a free domain with NoIP. If you don't know how to create a free domain with NoIP, you can check out the tutorial video linked in the description below. Now the domain name has been pointed to the IP address and you can use it instead of entering the IP directly. Alright, that's how to install and configure Squid Proxy on your VPS. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more useful tutorials. Thanks for watching.